Welcome back. We're now going to look at the home menu, and you're going to notice that there's a clipboard menu, a font menu, alignment, a number menu, a styles menu, a cells menu, and an editing menu. Now the clipboard menu functions as you might think. You can place your cursor inside of a particular, and you can paste whatever you've copied into the clipboard. So for example, we will then hit Control V, which is typically what you would use for the paste command. And you can then use any of the other text manipulation commands that you would use in any other document program. You can bold the information, you can italicize it, you can then underline it, you can then place a background inside of the information, and you can change the font color. You can change the font style, and you can change the font size. Now in terms of the alignment, what we can do is we can expand the cells so we can look at the alignment capabilities. And actually what we're going to do is widen this. You can center justify, you can right justify, you can left justify. Now just for your information, one of the things that we did in order to widen this cell is that we took the right hand corner and we can slide these things over. If you have a case where your cell is going to be smaller than what you have in text, all you have to do is double click this end and it will lengthen to the length of the text. And of course you can slide it out from there. And then that's where you'll be able to see your justification. You can format the cells of particular numbers. So for example, if you have a series of numbers in a specific column or row, you can use the format command to format those numbers. So for example, one of the things we can do is we can turn this to currency. We can turn this to a date. We can turn it to the formatting that we want, or fraction. The styles command allows you to show your cells in different ways so that you can highlight certain things. For example, you have one table here where you can do conditional formatting. So assuming that you have a series of numbers here, conditional formatting will allow you to set rules for the content. So for example, we can say that if the value is going to be greater than 77, then what we're going to do is we're going to make this a certain color. And you'll see that then will happen to all of the data that you place in this column. You can use the cells command to either add cells or delete cells or to format cells. So for example, if we want to add cells, we could use this command. For example, we can insert a cell. We can delete a cell. We can insert an entire row of cells, or we can delete an entire row of cells. We can take one cell or a series of cells using the format command. We can format that cell. We can format the height. We can format the width. We can make it so that the cell does not appear. And you're also going to find some overlap with the view area where we're going to be able to protect certain cells from individuals being able to edit the information. There's also some overlap with the data menu here in the editing panel. So for example, if we want to find a certain area of our spreadsheet, we can use find. We can then find the number 67, and then Excel will then go to that particular cell where you'll find the data that you want. Or for example, if we wanted to write in the word Google, Excel will then go to the place where it finds that text. So the home command allows you to place and manipulate data inside of your Excel spreadsheet. And for the most part, if you've ever used Microsoft Word or you've ever used Microsoft PowerPoint, much of the way in which you place content inside of Excel is going to be the same as if you were doing it in those other programs. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Before we view the insert menu, we're going to clear out all that we have inside of this part of the spreadsheet that we used with the home menu. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to this intersection between the columns and rows, and we're going to click this area, and you're going to find that then the entire spreadsheet is then highlighted. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our home menu, we're going to go to edit, and we're going to click clear all. And that's going to remove everything from the cells. Now you'll notice then that our cells are still going to be the same width and height that we left them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click inside of one of the cells. That'll take us back to the normal mode, and we're going to go to the insert menu. Now pivot tables are a very special way of being able to summarize all of the information that you have when you have certain data. It is a more advanced feature, but very helpful to you once you're in the analysis stage of working with your data. Now in the illustrations panel, this will probably be familiar to you if you are a user of Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint. All of these are ways that you can add in content to your spreadsheet or your spreadsheet document. For example, if we wanted to add an online picture to a particular area, all we would need to do is to click this button, click in the one that we want, and then insert the information. And of course, we can go back to our home menu and we can clear this out, or we can just undo with the undo command. Going back to the insert menu, you also have add-ins that you can place to increase the functionality of Microsoft Excel. You can check those that are going to be more geared toward Microsoft Excel, or you can use those that are going to be close to the kind of work that you are doing inside of Excel. Now the charts area will turn your data into visual content. So for example, let's assume that you have two columns of related data. When you have this information inside of Excel, you can turn this into a chart. So for example, if we highlight this data and we go to our chart area, what we can do is we can set up the kind of chart that we want to display. And you can see that Microsoft Excel will give you a sample display as you hover over the different elements of displaying the data. And you can do that with each kind of chart that you intend to use. If you intend to use geographical data, you can use the map chart, and that's going to be the case whether you want to use it in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions using the 3D map. Both the spark lines and the filters are different ways of being able to view this data. You can also hyperlink some of the data. So for example, if we highlight this cell and we decide to hyperlink this cell, we can insert a link for the data inside of this cell. That data is then going to be clickable to the link that you placed inside of there. And just as you would with a Microsoft Word and or a PowerPoint document, you are able then to insert text boxes, headers and footers, word art, and then objects to the document. Now, if you are working with scientific equations, you can input those equations into your spreadsheet using the equation command. And since you're working with numbers, there may be times when you want to use symbols that are not going to be found on your keyboard. You'll typically be able to find those symbols in the insert command by placing your cursor here and clicking on the symbols and then choosing the symbol that you want to use from the ones given to you here. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We're now looking at the page layout menu, which is the next menu over. And this menu is designed to help us when we are ready to take our data and print it and make it presentable for someone else to see. So for example, one thing that we can do is we can change what's called the theme, and basically all we're doing is changing the way that the spreadsheet is going to look. And so when we get ready to add color or we get ready to add charts, we're going to be able to do that according to a theme as well as a color scheme. We're going to be able to do that using specific fonts. We're also going to be able to do that with specific effects that are going to be shown. Now you're going to see that there's a page setup panel. Again, this is going to be specifically for when we get ready to either print or get our report ready for sale. For example, let's create some data in one cell. Let's copy this cell by hitting Control-C. And then let's create an entire range of data. Now that we've created this entire range of data, we can take a look at our page setup area. One thing that we can do is we can decide on what the print area is going to be. And so to do that, I'm going to click the escape key so that there is no longer any active cell. And we're going to click print area. Now what we can do is we can highlight the area that we actually want to print. And we're then going to click set print area. That means then when we get ready to print, this is going to be the active area. And you'll be able to see that if you go to the File menu, you go to the Print command, and you'll see that this is what we're actually going to print. Say now that you had a second set of data, and we wanted to take this data, highlight it, and then click Set Print Area. What you're going to notice is if we go to the File command, if we go to Print, you're now going to see this as the print area. And what we can also do is go back to this print area. We can then go to another area that we want to highlight. And what we can do is we can add to the print area. If we go back to our File command and we go to Print, what you're going to notice is that you'll see the first print area that we had, but there's also going to be another page, and that's going to be the second print area. And so you'll see that you're going to be able to determine the margins, the orientation, and the size for the print area that you decide on. Now, whatever we're going to be displaying, we decide on how it's going to fit on the page. We can let Microsoft Office determine it based on what it feels is reasonable, and you're going to leave that on automatic if that's the case. However, you can decide that everything that's on your spreadsheet when it comes to the width is going to fit on one page. You can determine that. You can also determine that everything going up and down or vertical is also going to fit on the page, and you can determine that it's going to fit on one page or two page, but you can determine that up front. This gives you control over how your reports are going to appear. You'll notice that there are grid lines in the last set of data. We can decide to leave those grid lines out. And then if we go to the File command, we go to the Print, you'll see that there are no grid lines. If we go back, place those grid lines in there, we can go to File, we can then Print, then you'll see the grid lines going to be back there. You can determine how things are going to appear on your sheet by using Bring Forward and Send Backwards, as well as the Selection pane. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. You are now looking at the Formulas menu, which is the next menu over. And the Formulas menu actually is the power of Excel. Anytime you have a series of numbers or a series of data, or in some cases a series of text, you can make an effect on that text or that data by using formulas. And you can use this menu in various ways. For example, one of the easiest ways to use the Formulas menu is to use the Auto Sum. So for example, if we were to highlight all of this information and we were to use the Auto Sum and just take the sum, you'll see that we're able to get the sum at the very bottom of the content by using that menu. We can do the very same thing again. We're going to use the undo command. We use Auto Sum, and we can take the average. You'll see the average come available in this area. And basically, each of these areas is going to take some time to learn the basics of how each of the formula works. So for example, we'll look in the financial formulas. You'll see various finance number values. You'll see, for example, future value or internal rate of return or net present value, if you're familiar with that. And basically what happens is if you place your cursor inside of a specific cell and you decide you want a certain formula, So for example, you want the net present value in this case. What your Excel will prompt you for is going to be the various cells that you're going to use for that formula. So for example, we can decide to use a specific cell. We can use, in this case, a number cell for the first value. You can use a number cell for the second value. And then we can click OK. And you'll notice then that we get a calculation here. Now, if you know what net present value means, then you know what that number means. And we can use the same method for any of the formulas that you have available to you. For the most frequently used formulas, you can go to this one, even though that's going to be in some of the other areas. So for example, if all we wanted to do was to sum or average, we can do that by placing our cursor where we want the final number. We can then decide that we want an average. It's then going to ask us where we're going to get that information from. And what we're going to do is we're going to then highlight an area, and then we're going to click OK. And then what will happen is Excel will give us the average. So basically, you are looking at your formulas to determine which one is going to be the most logical to use and to use it inside of the cell where you want the result. If you want more kinds of formulas, you can take a look at the More Functions area. You have statistical formulas you can determine, engineering formulas, cube formulas. You can also have formulas for specific information, compatibility, and even the web. Now, if you want to make sure that your formula is working correctly, you can use the formula auditing section. If you want to work through your calculations while you are still creating your worksheet, you can use the calculation section. And you can define names for the results you're getting from your formulas by using defined names. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.